Okay, folks, we have a lot to cover today. So let's just jump right into it. We're going to start with Tesla. We talked about this in the top 10 video, flipping over through this level and pushing. You got right up to that 935.63 today. There were some decent setups on this. I'm just going to walk you through them and really start focusing on your patterns and your support and resistance lines, because this is working really well. So this was one we actually just did perfectly in the trading room. You could just see that you were respecting this line. You were being super technical. We know wicks are price rejection. We were rejecting there, right? And you can see how you're over here. So you know you have an issue, right? You just don't know when that issue is going to kick in. You don't want to sell because you're over the 70. Watch that RSI video. If you haven't, I'll link it at the end. But you don't want to sell just because you're over 70, but you want to have your antenna up. And then when you get up to crazy land, when you're like 90, 91, 92, start paying attention. And this is on a 15-minute chart. You can see how you broke here and bonk ran right up. And then you just kind of bonked right off of that level. So that's the level you have to watch for tomorrow. I would be a little concerned of just about this. You had this nasty red bar down, and then that red bar became your entire trading range for the day. So that might mean it's a little tired. We closed the majority of the position today, and then I have some on from Friday's position. But overall, I'm not really crazy about how this closed, but I do want to point this out. If you can get over this level and close over this level, you're starting to look at much higher levels. Like you could see 1,000. You could see that this RSI can curl. So this needs to be on your radar. Now this one I took a lot of flack for on Saturday because I usually don't review the meme names and go through them. So it was somewhat funny. But why I think it's important is look how you just respected that line. You came right down to where our line was, and that was your low. And then you flip from there. So we talk about this a lot, right? Support flips to resistance. That's exactly what happened here. So then we just sat there and we stalked it during the day. Did we get the low? Nope, we did not. There's nothing in here. When you're in this bar, 15 minutes, there's nothing there. What are you going to pick off, right? Whatever you're going to pick off, you could lose, right? Your risk versus reward doesn't make sense. So you let it set up, and you let it set up right here, got over, and then just put the trade on, and we made $1. Not much, but the reason this is on is this. You see how you're breaking out? Start watching this 1860. This is not done. And I know people don't want to hear that because they don't like when I do the meme names for some reason, but I'm going to do what works. And for me, it's 4 letters and some numbers. So this one had a really good volume profile, the way it cut down and then how the green is accelerating. Don't rule this out. I'm not telling you that you're not going to see shenanigans and it trade all over the place. But if you're just looking for a vehicle to trade, I would look at that. And you are just seeing buying just completely across the board. So TQQ is one from the newsletter. If you don't get the newsletter, there is a link in description. And I would suggest that it's something that you subscribe to. Comes out Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So flip that level. And then you just pushed and you took out new highs today. We've been in this since 32.75 from the newsletter, and I actually just added to it again today. I like it. I think it's a very simple trade. You're basically just making a directional bet on which way the market's going. The biggest issue I have with all of this, quite frankly, is what everyone's issue is. We have no volume. So if you have no volume, you get a little concerned about it, and that's really where I'm at. Now you're seeing more and more inflows into names like NVDA. I like some of the other names a little bit more, but these large caps, you're safer because you have liquidity, right? So if you just take a look from the anchored VWAP all the way down, we cleared it once, you're setting up again. Every pullback worked perfectly. And it's really interesting the amount of push we got today with how bad the economic data was. If you just take a look at this, this is investing.com. It's a free site. So New York Empire State Manufacturing came in at negative 3130. The last time you came in here, we were in a pandemic. Okay, this is a brutal number, and no one's really talking about it. Forecast was 550. Now, NAB housing market determines the health of the market. Anything over 50 and you're expanding. This came in at 49 today. 55 was the forecast. So you are contracting in the housing market. Just to be very clear here. So you had very weak numbers across the board, and the market just shrugged it off. Stay to the end because we're going to go through the indexes, and there's some really important levels to watch there. So, and we'll address those. But I think it's really important for you to just kind of grasp what is moving and where can you benefit from it, right? So one of the key ones that we've been talking about has been this SOXL and this trend line and how you just keep bumping your head with it. Now you have AMATs. They have earnings this week. Just keep an eye on this. I'm seeing tons of inflows into these names, and I'm seeing that ahead of that. So, you know, I'm not really seeing it so much here today, right? But like here, let me give you an example of this one. So here's Taiwan Semi. This is when we got in at 85. Look, from where you're at right now, you're hitting higher highs on the day. Volume's increasing. These kinds of names are moving. People are buying the foundry. So when that happens, you really want to pay attention. Okay, this is setting up perfectly. You have a doji halfway up the bar. Like that's perfect, right? That's a perfect setup to push higher. Okay, so that's definitely something that you want to watch. So at the end of the day, I really would focus on the money flows and where it's going. And right now, it is heading in the semiconductors for some reason. I thought it was going to really push into software, but it's not really doing that. Take a look. So you're kind of setting up on software, but not in the same way that you're setting up in some of these semiconductor names. So I think that's really important for us to, to understand. As far as ones that could gap fill, so this is something that I've been watching, and the Google news that they're going to get into this business, and I set this up as, I just boxed them in. But if you take a look at this, I think you could have absolutely gotten up here and over time. Like, I'm surprised it's going to happen this fast, but you have Stranger Things, Lock and Key, The Shadows. Like, there are tons of shows out right now that are going to drive viewership, that people are going to talk about, that's going to get people on it. So this could pop over and gap fill right in here. So don't rule this out. But the easiest trades right now, if you're concerned, because you have earnings tomorrow and you need to be aware of both of those earnings. Walmart's tomorrow morning. This was the last debacle, right, which it never did before. And then it came out and said, no, that they're going to be really bad. And then it traded all the way back up. You made it halfway down. You're trading back up. This is tomorrow at 7 o'clock. You're going to have to watch this because the slightest hint that things are okay and not disastrous, and retail is going to run. If it looks like it's getting worse and not better, that's not going to run. That's going to drag the entire market down. So you really, and it can, consumer discretionary can drag down the SPY. So you're going to have to focus on that. You have Home Depot. You're going to have to focus on earnings there tomorrow as well. This is coming out very early. This will be before Lowe's. And usually if like the NAHB that was down, usually Lowe's and Home Depot, names like this, right? They usually tend to, let's clean that off. Usually names like this tend to do very well when home ownership contracts because people fix up their houses. So that's just something to consider. But overall, if we just go through the indexes and what transpired today, you have a higher high and a push. You are getting a little overbought, but you could stay like that for a very long period of time. Okay, so you don't just sell because the RSI is there. Watch that video, I'll link at the end. My larger problem is this. I've got declining volume. Now, is that because people are sick and tired of selling? I've had declining volume since it started from back here, right? And you've seen some things that are leading to people throwing in the towel that are short. So that's kind of a sign. You had Michael Burry closing his Apple position, right? He closed that entire short position. Again, if you don't get the newsletter, link in description, right below us. So, something that we're up like 10 points on, you're running right into that DTL. But to get back to the indexes and what you need to look for, if you look at this level, all you're really doing is you want to just keep making headway. That's all you're looking to do, right? So remember that level tomorrow, 429.62. Okay, and then you're just really going to want to watch this DTL. DTL stands for downward trend line, and just watch that right there, right? You're kind of in a little kill box there as you're coming up and you have declining volume. I'm not going to tell you when they're going to ring a bell and tell you that we're going to pull back. I can just point out the levels and say, watch how we act at these levels, right? And then you can develop your own plan from there. No two people trade alike. Just remember that. So here's the cues. And then you flipped, right? So is this an indication of what the SPY is going to do? Or is this just ahead of itself? The larger issue for me is the same issue, okay? Where's my volume? It's falling off a cliff. So I don't know how realistic it is to keep pushing on light volume. The only thing that I could say about it is that sure doesn't look like massive short covering to me, right? It looks like lack of selling. Looks like everybody sold and there's no one left to sell, right? Now, in regards to the VIX, this is something we've been watching closely. You're back over. You didn't take out the lower low. You ticked up a little bit, but you're still down at 20, but you're up on the day. So I find it interesting that the market went up today and the VIX actually did tick up. Now, it's not a lot, but it's there, right? So we want to be cognizant of that. And I would much rather have seen it just go right through here and break down, but that's not what happened. The other thing that is somewhat concerning is what we're seeing in the 10-year as the 10-year tries to rally and then fails, but you're still up a little too high. So you're just going to really have to watch this and watch how it plays out. But for me, the bigger tick to watch is we should not have a rising VIX, right? You should not have a rising VIX. And I know it's not a lot. This is without pre and post, just FYI. But you should not have a rising VIX where you have the markets going higher. It shouldn't work that way. Markets should not be going higher, right? And people are fearful. So that's a concern of mine, and I would suggest that you watch that tomorrow. That's all I have for this evening. I hope this was helpful. If you could do me a favor and please comment. To get these out faster, I'm going to try to either just cut back on the editing. So if you can just comment on that, if you'd rather get the videos out faster and see the information faster, or if you just want them edited a little bit better, because I sure as heck can't edit them. So just let me know either way. If you're interested in the trading room, there'll be a preview link right up here in the top right corner. Everyone, have a great evening and trade to win tomorrow.